Well, I want to welcome you to what may be one of the most difficult and yet most important briefings that we've given, certainly in a long time. In fact, Twilight's last Gleaming was a briefing package that we published 9 years ago. So in a sense, we're revisiting some of the predictions of that one and more directly taking a look at what's happening around us. But before I start really getting into it, let me be candid. In many ways, this is one of the most difficult briefings for me to give. Because as most of you know that know me well, know that I'm not, in a natural sense, an America basher. I wanted to remind you that I spent a 30-year career in the strategic arena. When other people were in college, I was passing in review on Warden Field at the Naval Academy among a regiment that was serious and willing to give their lives for this country. And after a service career in the Air Force and some time in think tanks supporting the intelligence community, I also ended up being chairman and chief executive officer of 6 different public companies, 4 of which were publicly traded defense contractors. So when you spend 30 years among the strategic community, it gets in your blood. And so it's not easy for me to come to the conclusions that this briefing will summarize. So you need to understand that. It's very, very difficult. You see, when I was an impressionable teenager in the Boy Scouts, it was God and country. You didn't have to choose between them. And now I reflect back on much of my life and regard some of it, at least, as a misguided patriotism that was really a form of idol worship. So we need to recalibrate ourselves, and this maybe is exactly what God is intending here. So let's just jump in. Twilight's Last Gleaming, Part 1. You know, as we travel around this country, we usually follow our formal presentation with a question and answer period, and they're always the most fun, because it's fun to be scratching where people are itching, and we enjoy it the most. I think the audiences do. But as we do that, there are 2 questions that we can predict will come up from any substantial audience. The first one, they always ask, where is the United States in prophecy? Anyone that's studied Bible prophecy seriously becomes quickly aware of the fact that all the major players in the end times are well identified in the Scripture. And yet, it seems that the United States is conspicuous in its absence of mention. So many people that are serious about their Bible study find that puzzling, and they have many conjectures that come up. There's a second question that comes up. It's a close cousin of that one, and that is, why hasn't God judged America? Anyone that's really spiritually mature is disturbed by the realities of this country. We've become the primary exporter of everything God abhors. Billy Graham quipped so cleverly years ago. He said, if God doesn't judge America, he'll have to apologize to Sodom and Gomorrah. And many of us get very nervous about this situation because we presume that the reason God has shielded us from an overdue judgment is because of our commitment to Israel's right to the land. We take the biblical, we hide behind Genesis 12, verse 2 and 3, arguing that it's that posture on the part of our country that has protected us from an overdue judgment. That's conjecture on our part. Thomas Jefferson anticipated this in his own way back in 1781. He said, I tremble for my country when I recall that God is just and that his justice cannot sleep forever. Very, very poignant.